Fat tires. Project Curly. Such a fun bike to ride when you're not in any particular hurry to get anywhere. All right, let's get to it. We're not here to talk about Project Curly though. We're here to talk about this right here I've got on my wrist. This is a Whoop fitness tracker. And today we're going to talk about 90 days later, my time with the fitness tracker. Is it whoop whoop or big whoop? Coming right up. Well, good morning. Granny Gear here for Old Guy in a Bike. Fitness trackers, like this Whoop I'm wearing here on my wrist. Man, they're everywhere, aren't they? Some of them are rings you wear on your finger, and other ones, kind of wrist strap wristbands like this. And there's probably others. I think at some point we'll probably have some kind of an implant that we can use for a fitness tracker. But for now, they seem like they are gaining in popularity for athletes like you and maybe like me who are looking to gain an edge in our fitness and our training regimen, and maybe learn a little bit about ourselves in the process. Now, my move to try this fitness tracker out, this Whoop thing, well, it wasn't easy, and it took a little while. So I'm going to give you a little back history on that. Then we'll talk about how it's been for me to use and whether after 90 days of use, well, whether the relationship is a healthy one or is it about over. Let's get on with it, shall we? Now, to begin with, real quick, I first saw this product when I was at Sea Otter, the Sea Otter bike show, the racing and all that, and doing the video stuff and all the stuff that I'm doing. And there's the Whoop booth. And I thought, hey, yeah, I've heard about that. And occasionally, right, I would be watching somebody else's content, some content creator on YouTube, someone like, Vegan Cyclist. And he'd have a really, really big day on his bike. And then he'd take his phone and he'd show the screen, and it would be some kind of like this circle with a number in it and all these little other numbers, and like, hey, my recovery score is only 60% today. And I thought, what the heck is that? I didn't even know what it was. Well, it turns out we were looking at basically a fitness tracker telling him or whoever was doing the video on whether or not they were ready to meet the day or not. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting, I guess, but I don't really know if that's for me. I'm kind of an old school guy. I don't really go in for all those, numbers and charts and metrics and things like that. But it left a little planted a seed, I guess, in my little Granny Gear brain. And I hadn't forgotten about it, but I wasn't ready to really do anything about it either. Now, fast forward a little bit, and I've signed up for the Climb to Kaiser. Now, the Climb to Kaiser, that was a very, very, very big day on the bike, and I had been trying to refine my nutrition program. I had been training a little bit differently, and I really was trying to take this much more seriously than anything I had before, cycling related. And then I got to thinking about Whoop, and I thought, I wonder if a fitness tracker for me is a missing piece to a puzzle that would help me train better and train smarter and have greater success on this event. And not only that, just be a good thing for my life in general as an aging athlete. So I whipped out my checkbook and I said, well, okay, let's give this a try, because I was very curious. Now, these things aren't cheap. I did it a 1-year subscription. So the way that Whoop works, I don't know what the other fitness trackers are like, is basically it's one of those things where the equipment is free for this money. However, you pay every month to basically make it function, because without the app, which requires a subscription, this thing is basically just something you wear on your wrist and wouldn't be doing a whole lot of anything for you. So $250 is not cheap. And I thought, well, I'm curious. Let's give it a try. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on the unit in the app. If you want detail, I mean, go to DC Rainmaker, right? Somebody like that. He's awesome. No, this is really going to be my experience 90 days in a potentially 1-year program on something like this. Hopefully, maybe help you make up your mind whether or not it's for you. All right. So how this works, basically, get the Wahoo, get it installed on your wrist, which is real easy. This is just a little stretchy band, and it's just a little clasp. It weighs almost nothing. Most of the time, you really don't know where it's there. You feel like you're wearing a light watch or something. You get into the app, you put all your metrics in, and it starts tracking you, and you basically don't take this off. I've taken this off once in 90 days just to kind of like wash it better, but most of the time I just wear it in the shower, and that seems to be fine. So you don't take it off. You even charge it while you're wearing it, which is kind of slick, and it's got a little battery pod you can put on top, and it charges it, with the magnetic type chargers like your iPhone, when you lay it on a inductive charger or whatever. So that's pretty cool. So you don't have to take it off. In fact, it chides you if you do take it off. It says, hey, don't take this off and don't shut down the app because we're watching you and we're monitoring you and we can't do a good job of that if you remove it. And you just start plugging information into this app. And you do that daily on a daily basis. You can journal your activities. You can journal your food. You can journal, did you have alcohol? Did you watch a lot of television? There's a lot of things you can put in your journal. And it gives you a score. And it's measuring all kinds of things. It's measuring your respiratory rate, your resting heart rate, your active heart rate. It'll give you zones, zone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It'll tell you, it'll measure your HRV. It is telling you how well you slept. Did you get how much REM sleep you have, and et cetera, et cetera. It's giving you a lot of information, and it takes it a while to get to know you. And the more information you feed it, the more things you do, the smarter it gets, and the better it gets at guessing, really, how well you're doing and making suggestions based on all that information. That takes a little while, but 90 days in, I'm pretty much there. Generally speaking, my diet and my nutritional program, my supplementation is pretty much regimented. Things that did vary would be things like, did I intermittently fast, which I do that day or not? For some reason, did I get up early and eat because I needed to? Maybe I was traveling or something. How much electrolytes I had? Did I have, I use the Element. Did I have Element and when? Did I have caffeine or not? And if so, when in the day? So you would journal all that information and it would give you a score. And your recovery score is basically how the Whoop thinks, how hard you think you should work today. It knows how hard you worked yesterday. It's measuring your strain. They call it strain. And based on that, all of those things, it gives you a score on how recovered you are. And it'll give you a little wheel, and the wheel can be into the red, the yellow, the green, and it can be anywhere from, it'll be whatever. It'll be 20%, 40%, 70%, 90% recovered. And based on that, basically how hard you need to work or you should work that day. And I guess in a sense, that's kind of handy information, although we'll get to that in a minute. Maybe it isn't so handy after all. Now, I sleep really, really well to begin with, so my sleep metrics haven't really changed very much. I typically go to bed pretty early. I'm usually 9 o'clock, I'm pretty much out. Usually in bed before that. Sometimes I'll catch up on things on my phone a little bit, watch a YouTube video or something before I go to bed, or read. So I would journal all of that, etc. And my recovery score would vary, of course, depending upon what I did. If I had a really, really big day the day before, it's going to be toward the low end of things. It's going to say, hey, you know what? You're not quite recovered yet. You're at maybe 40% recovery. Take it easy today. Yesterday, your strain was a bit of an overreach. That's one of its terms. In other words, you worked hard. I mean, what if I did a group ride? Well, you're probably going to overreach, right? Because I went out and rode 70 miles or whatever, and it took 5 hours or whatever it took. And so, yeah, it was a big day. And today I'm feeling tired, and it's saying, hey, you're only 40% recovered. Give yourself some time. I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. And some days it would say, if I had an easy day or an easy couple of days and I hadn't had a lot of activity, it'd say, man, you're 90%, 80% recovered. This would be a really good day for you to go out and work really, really hard. And I said, okay, very, very good. So in a sense, it's kind of a little bit of a coach that you wear on your wrist that's telling you based on the things you might tell a coach. Maybe you'd send him all your power numbers, you'd send him your different this and your different that and your data, and he would give you a little plan and say, hey, this is today you want to take it easier. Today we want to work hard. Today is hill sprints, et cetera, et cetera. So in a sense, it is kind of that wearable coach that I think probably a lot of people will find to be very beneficial. And it's giving you a lot of metrics that really you have absolutely no idea how to get otherwise. For instance, HRV, it measures heart rate variability, which on its own seems to be a very contentious thing, whether or not that's something you should really pay attention to or not. There's a lot of experts out there, and some expert trainers say it's great to pay attention to HRV, and other people say it's just basically an unreliable metric you really shouldn't base much of anything on. But you know what experts are? They're just educated people with opinions, and so opinions vary. In any case, it is giving you a ton of metrics. The thing is, in the end, is it satisfying for me? Do I feel 90 days in like this is something I want to continue with? And that is what we're going to get to right now, and why. Number one, it tells me what I already know. I'm pretty in touch with my body. I'll bet you most athletes, if they have been an athlete for long enough, are pretty in tune with their body, right? If you're tired, you know you're tired. Unless you have a habit of being like type A personality and you just like train hard every day no matter what you feel like because you're pushing through, maybe you're probably not going to listen to this anyway, but maybe this would be good for you. But I know when I'm tired. If I'm tired, I don't want to go ride. Or if I do ride, I'm going to ride real easy. Just maybe ride to coffee or something. If I'm not tired, I'm going to go ride hard that day. I kind of know how much rest I generally need after things. You know, after the Climb to Kaiser ride, it was 1 week before I felt normal. In other words, where I was ready to go do any kind of ride again. 1 calendar week. Now in that week, I had 114 miles of riding, all of it like zone 2, the most. And so I was working my legs and getting my body, you know, kind of ready to ride again. But that took 1 week. Well, I knew that. I didn't need Whoop to tell me that. The day after the Climb to Kaiser, I think it said my recovery score was like 13% or something. I mean, I was trashed. Yep, but you know what I felt like? I don't think I felt that good. 13% though? Yeah. But I knew that. I knew how I felt. When I wake up in the morning, like this morning I woke up, I'm tired because I had 3 days of pretty hard activity. I'm tired today. I don't want to ride today. I rode over here to film this video on Project Curly, but I'm just tootling along at the lake. It's flat ride. I know I don't want to ride. If I wake up in the morning and I feel great, I know I want to ride, and I know how to time my weeks to where, unless I'm sick or something, I know how to time my weeks to where I know I'll be recovered for a big day coming up. I don't need something on my wrist I'm paying for to tell me I'm tired or not when I wake up and I feel tired. Sometimes it gets it wrong. I've had days where it said, you're 43% recovered. You really shouldn't go ride hard, or you shouldn't overreach. You shouldn't strain, have a low strain day. And I went out and I thought, I feel great. I got great legs. I went out with the group, rode hard, felt great. I've had days that told me you are 78% recovered. Go have a pretty big day. And I thought, there is no way I want to ride a bike today. I'm trash. So sometimes, although not always, it just gets it wrong. But most of the time, honestly, it's just telling me something I already know. Sometimes it's kind of funny what it will do. A guy I was riding with, an older guy who actually I'm going to relate his experience in a second, but he was up on his roof cleaning his solar panels. After a couple hours of doing that, he came down. His Whoop told him he'd been surfing for 2 hours. And I thought that was kind of funny. I guess all the balance movements and stuff. And I've had it tell me when I was landscaping that I did 2 hours of mountain biking. And so sometimes it's kind of funny. Now you can go into the app and you can correct that. And you can pick what the activity actually was. But it does its best to guess, and most of the time, like, it knows if I'm cycling or not. It would know if I was swimming and things like that, but sometimes it's kind of funny. So, yep, I think I'm in that apathetic state of the relationship where, for instance, as an example, now 90 days, I have every morning looked at my Whoop. I looked at the app. I haven't looked at the Whoop. Look at that. I'm going to tell you anything. I've looked at the app on my phone, and I've done my journal. I've done my score. I've been a good student. The last 3 days, I haven't even opened the app. Haven't even looked at it. I've just been going based on how I'm feeling. And you know what? I know how I'm feeling. I think at this point, for me, I'm kind of at that meh moment with the Whoop. And I guess that's kind of a shame because it wasn't cheap. All right, let's wrap this up, shall we, with a little story of a guy I was riding with the other day who was wearing a Whoop. Now, he had bought a Whoop as he was coming out of being a working guy into retirement. He's an older guy like myself, and he wanted to get fitter because, the work he did didn't really keep him in shape. He wanted to improve his health, improve his sleep. His sleep pattern was his work kept him sleeping at very, very odd shifts. And so he wanted to establish a sleep pattern, wanted to get healthier, get fit, and ride his bike, etc., etc. And so he bought 2 years worth of a Whoop. Now, as I was riding with him the other day, we're at coffee, and he's about 1 year in, and he's basically saying, yeah, it was really helpful at first, but once I kind of started sleeping regularly, which I am, he says, really, I don't think this is doing very much for me anymore. And he's about done. I think the marriage is just about over with for him and his Whoop. Now, one thing I did come out of this with, which I really, really appreciate, is it got me using a heart rate monitor again. And this can be a heart rate monitor. It'll broadcast your heart rate, Ant Plus sensor. I synced it to my Wahoo, and that was really, really nice because I have been riding more and more and more, watching my heart rate, and that's something I'll be talking about more later. But that Zone 2 thing and train slow to ride fast and that whole movement, I totally think there was something to that, especially for the older athlete, but I'm still experiencing that, and I'll talk about that probably later on in the year. Am I sorry I did it? No, I'm not. And I'll tell you why. Even with the expense and all of that, because I was curious. And I think you need to stay curious. You need to try new things. As supplements and other training programs come along, if you think, hey, that might make sense for me, not a bad thing to try, because this could have been an epiphany. This could have been amazing for me. And for some people, this might be amazing, right? Like I said. But for me, it kind of isn't. But I'm glad I tried it. I'm glad I experienced it. It's just something I wanted to do, and if I hadn't done it, I probably would have always wondered, I wonder if that would be good for me. All right, I'm going to sit here for a while and watch the ducks and the geese go by and enjoy a little bit of shade while I've still got it. You guys have a great week and or weekend. As always, go ride your bikes.